2024 Delber '08 Aldi. Reading journal entry from 2024 Delber 24 Goldie. So today is Delta 8 Aldi Alpha, Delta 8 Alpha, reading an entry from, oh no, I said the entry state wrong. The entry is from Charlie 24 Golf, from Charlie 24 Golf, from 2024 Shabber 24 Goldie. Okay, I don't remember why I wanted to read this, or I kind of do. I guess it was because it's part of another video, but I say that because I'm hoping that this is not nonsense. All right, let's go. Persuasion is not a conscious event. No event is a conscious event, as in coming from consciousness. In fact, persuasion isn't even an event. It's in some ways a ghosted. We think it's knowledge of truth, plus knowledge of what is persuasive, plus desire to persuade, plus willingness to deceive equals persuasive, but fallacious argument. But no, some of those are ghosteds. In reality, because the persuader and persuadé are human brains, what is persuasive for one's self is persuasive for the others. So actually, all you need is, if true, then say out loud. Now, what slaps the true note it? Well, whatever was wired to it, or whatever was wired to. Some true things and some false things. Anything that makes it to the true note it is ex-livered. We were wired that way so knowledge would spread, and then in the spread, be able to compete with other knowledge spreading in the same community. So really, it's knowledge of quote-unquote truth equals persuasion. The output just happens to be persuasive because the only things that make it to the output are things that were persuasive to person A. So person A says things it mistakenly believes to be true, citing some premises it mistakenly believes to lead to that conclusion. And then person B hears it, and unless they're enemies, person B mistakenly believes that to be true, compelled by premises it mistakenly believes to lead to the conclusion. The persuasion wasn't transferred. It's coming from inside every house. Gosh, that was not clear at all, but maybe in the follow-up video it is. Anyway, we're gonna keep going. Oh, we got halfway through. Now, we do not have that's got to be wrong. That's got to be wrong. Sorry, that's got to be wrong. That's got to mean we do have. It's got to mean. All right, but I can't just edit it. Hold on, give me 2 seconds. 2024 Delber 08 Alpha 1333. Now we do have actual cognitive abilities to learn what writers and psychologists have told us about persuasion and then contrive persuasive things accordingly. But that's like for a school essay, maybe a grant application, a political campaign, an ad from a big business. Okay, those are big examples, but most of the time, persuasion is happening on a park bench during a video game, through non-millionaire media and artists and comedians and Instagram reels, and on moderately long drives between friends or coworkers or spouses. And in those cases, there aren't drafts being prepared. The brain doesn't contrive by default. That's a special department that only gets out of bed if there's an important grade or check on the table. So the more interesting moments of persuasion are when there was no persuasion, just two persuaded people. 1359 CT of the same date. That's Charlie 24 Golf. Oh, and also it was in our interest throughout our evolution to persuade. So it's an automatic process. Whatever the mechanics look like, the output of words that spread ideas was favored. The output of words that spread ideas was favored. So our genome and nature talked it over and figured out some efficient, simple way to achieve that. And I'm just speculating about what they may have come up with. So I don't think it was particularly clear, but real quick, what it was I was trying to say that, okay, you know what? Let's use a little metaphor, okay? So, suppose you have a hen. You have a hen on your land, and it produces eggs. They're eggs that the eggs here are the conclusion, and the hen is the premise, okay? So if you have this hen, it produces these eggs. No. Not a good metaphor. Damn. Doesn't work. Because I keep confusing myself when I keep looking back at this idea. Alright, so I call it Parsuasion. Okay, so you know what? Because that was kind of weird, I'm gonna say some stuff now that I'm coming up with after the subsequent video I want you to watch. Or I guess you don't have to watch anymore. Alright, yeah, you're right. Alright, here's the deal. Okay. Alright, hold on. We're almost there. Alright, we're almost there. What's something that, like, turns something into something that you have in your house, and there's different variations of it or something? Oh, it's not complicated, though. Okay. So, alright, forget the metaphor. I couldn't think of one. Basically, because our processors are similar, although an input in the logical world wouldn't lead to... No, okay, hold on. Give me a second. Okay. We are an input-output machine, an if-then machine, okay? We have information or things affect us, and then behavior comes out, okay? And statements, okay? So we're an if-then machine. If this, then that. An input-output machine, okay. Okay, I got it now. I got it now. Okay, let's take my dog and your dog. Both of our dogs, and this is not like all dogs. I don't know what percentage of dogs are like this, but they can't eat raw meat without getting diarrhea. Okay, I'm sure some dogs can, some dogs can't. Okay, your dog and my dog cannot. So when the input is raw meat, the output is green slush. Okay, so alright, this sucks. But alright, let's say that the conclusion is green slush. And what I mean by that is you believe in green slush. Oh god. It just doesn't make any sense. You believe in green slush though, okay? And the reason that you believe in green slush is I mean, what, oh, right. It's a metaphor, right? So the green slush represents something, okay? So some conclusion that you have, some output, some statement, okay? And you are led to believe that, you say, because of some input, some piece of information, whatever. Okay. So, all right. So this is all right. This is terrible, but also I think it works well enough. Okay. Now, suppose I want you to believe in green slush. Well, what I could do is I could take some input we agree on and show you how that leads to green slush, according to reasonable principles. But what could be even easier is to just give you the raw meat. You'll feed it to your thinking apparatus, your dog, and your dog will also produce green slush. And so you'll go, hey, you were absolutely right about green slush. We agreed on raw meat, and you were absolutely right that green slush is true. And what's interesting about that is that, of course, if you, though, include someone else in your conversation who has a dog that can process raw meat, it will not suffice to get them on board by just giving them the raw meat. You give them raw meat, they feed it to their thinking apparatus. Their thinking apparatus produces nice, solid turds. And so they say, no, green slush, false, not green slush. So then, likely, what you would do at that point, if you were on Team Green Slush, is you would say, oh, no, your dog fucked up the processing. Your thinking apparatus fucked up the processing of that input. But you're already cheating because you didn't actually evaluate how you and the other person, whether you guys were correct in getting to green slush. And you thought that because the other dog also produced green slush, then, oh, okay, then this must be the right conclusion that follows from this premise. But no. In the case of the green slush, for instance, actually, it was my dog and your dog that didn't properly handle the input to produce an appropriate output. So it's a shortcut to, rather than, okay, so we agree on red meat, okay? So then red meat leads to this, which leads to that, which should lead to this, which should lead to that, which should lead to this, logically, and blah, blah, which ultimately leads to green slush. We don't present arguments like that. Instead, it's much simpler to just give the input to the system, which is as stupid as you. Or similar to you. So we know we're among friends. You can quote me on this, or you can develop this into your own quote, but somehow refer to me in other ways. You can recognize friends from the fact that they draw the same conclusions from the same information as you. So that there's no need, and this is kind of sarcastic, or it's true, but it's not, it's unfortunate that we surround ourselves with people that treat information the same that we do. Because then, of course, those people end up in the same conclusions, and you don't know whether it's just because you both have interpretive mechanisms in common that are not useful in this case, or because you both have interpretive mechanisms that are useful in this case. So you still don't know whether your thing is true or false. Anyway, so just keep an eye out for that, for Parsuasion. Parsuasion, because rather than a par is an element of something that leads to, along with the other elements, to a thing that's a level up in the hierarchy, an overall thing, which is called the soup. So, SUPE. So if you, so Parsuasion is when, instead of saying, okay, here's this par, and here's this other par, and you see, here's the link between them, and we're evaluating all of this together outside of, or trying to do it outside of ourselves. And then here's that part, and then that part, and then that leads to the conclusion. Rather than saying all that stuff, and you're giving all these points where you can be scrutinized, you just give one par, and then the mind is, such an associative and judgmental system that you just feed that par into their mind, and it leads to the same conclusion as it did in yours. Anyway, I'm repeating myself. Hopefully that was clear.
Il fait ça tout le temps.
Il adore ça, hein.
Ah ouais, je vois ça.
Bah oui.